Hey, y'all, it's me, your host, Coach Pilar Arthur Sneed. Thanks so much for joining me here for another episode of the Last 10th podcast. Every single week, I have the distinct pleasure and honor to chat with runners and coaches from all over the world. And I just get so excited to be able to talk to folks about their experiences. And you know, that this week is no different. This week, I have with me on the show someone who is tearing it up on the Instagram space with like product reviews, running with boundless energy. I have Brandy Talamoni with me on the show. She is a former United States Marine Corps veteran. Well, she's not a former veteran. She is a veteran now, but a former service member. And she's a marathoner, and she's currently training for the Chicago Marathon. Brandy, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent. When I say you are tearing it up on Instagram, I mean you are tearing it up on Instagram, like insane. Also making magazine covers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you're doing amazing things. So tell me a little bit about you, anything that you would like to share.
Yeah. So, like you said, I was in the Marine Corps. I did not like running when I was in the Marine Corps. I absolutely hated it. But after I got out and I had my daughter, I was trying to find something to do. And where we were stationed at the time, because my husband is active duty, they didn't have childcare at the gyms. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just get a stroller and I'll push my daughter. And I think I bought the cheapest stroller. It would shake every single time I ran. It was terrible.
Yes.
But I still pushed through and I ended up getting a better one. And I trained for a marathon in 2017. Unfortunately, though, I was a do not finish. I was really bummed about that. And from there, I got pregnant again. And I was like, you know what? I am going to run a marathon. And I decided to start documenting my journey to getting to a marathon. I started kind of late 2018 and I documented all through 2019, which is the year that I ran Indianapolis. And I did finish the marathon. Yeah. And then from there, I ran another marathon virtually, as well as a 50K virtually, which was not smart. It was terrible.
Wow.
I definitely need support for that. And we recently just moved last summer. So running, I mean, I still run, but it wasn't like I was training for anything. It was just kind of like, I'll run when I can, because for about a month, we were visiting family on the East Coast and then visiting friends in the Midwest and then moving over to the West Coast. So it's kind of like, I'll train whenever we get settled. And I decided, we lived in Chicago before. The whole 3 years, I did not get into that marathon. We finally moved and I get into that marathon. I was like, ah!
What? I literally had easy access to the start and finish line. And now I gotta like fly. What?
I gotta fly, book a hotel, all of it. It was funny because like the night before, I told my husband, I was like, yeah, I decided to sign up for Chicago. I don't think I'll get in, but just be prepared that they might take a good chunk of change out the account. And that next morning, everybody else is already up and getting emails. I was like, I got a bank notification. Like as soon as I checked my phone, I got a bank notification saying that it got taken. I was like, no, this would happen.
You were like, I was not ready. I was ready, but I wasn't really ready.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Because I was like, okay. Because I was like, if I get in, all right, I'll do another marathon. If I don't, I'll just focus on like half marathons and stuff like that. Yes. So that's where we're at now. I'm currently training for San Diego Hot Chocolate 15K next month. Really excited for it. So yeah, just kind of base building right now.
Excellent. Well, I have to tell you that for me, the Chicago Marathon is my absolute most favorite marathon of all the marathons. It's a great marathon. And there are a lot of reasons why. First of all, it's really easy to get to the start line. It's really easy to get from the finish line to wherever you are staying. There's easy access to get anywhere as compared
and I
to.
volunteered there one year, actually. I volunteered for the race back in 2019.
Yeah.
So I kind of know like behind the scenes how easy
It's just
boom,
it's
boom,
amazing.
boom.
Yeah. And it starts early. It starts early. So, you're out on the road by 9 o'clock. If you're, back of the packer, which I am, you're out on the road by 9 o'clock, 9:10 at the latest, as compared to New York City, which is essentially like you start your day at 6 o'clock in the morning and you don't in fact actually start running, especially if you're a back of the packer, until probably about 12 noon. You have to literally get to the starting line about 4 hours before you actually are going to start. So it's a great party. They do a great job. It's a party from start to finish. Streets are lined with people. It's amazing. I love it. I've ran Chicago. This year will be my 4th year running Chicago.
So excited. I'm so excited.
You're going to love it. Take it from me. You're going to love it because I want to go back there every year for the rest of my life.
I've ran a few races there, but I'm so excited to run the actual marathon. Like I'm
absolutely.
hyped up.
You are gonna absolutely love it. So take me back to what what brought you into the running space? Like what made you say, okay, I'm going to reevaluate my relationship with this running thing?
I think at first for me, during my pregnancy, I gained a lot of weight. And so I was really at the time, like really insecure about my body and how much it had changed. I went from being 140 pounds to getting up to 230 pounds by the end of my pregnancy. So I felt really insecure and I wanted to start working out. But like I said, there was no childcare. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just do cardio. And I was like, what a better way to do it than to go running. And from there, I kind of shifted from wanting to lose weight to building like my endurance and trying to get stronger and stuff like that. And that's kind of what happened. Like, it was like, oh, I want to lose weight. To now it's like, I love running and it's a part of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you made that shift and then you decided, oh, I'm going to run a marathon. So how was the training process leading up to your first marathon?
The training process, I was at the time in a run club and I was just around people that were like, oh, I'm running this marathon. Oh, I'm running that marathon. So I was like, I guess I'll try to attempt it. And, unfortunately, like I said, it was a DNF. This was happening in Japan. So, over here in the United States, when they say, oh, you have this time limit or whatever, usually it's from when the last person crosses.
Was it the Tokyo Marathon?
It was Nagoya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's similar to like Tokyo where if they say 6:30, you're losing 30 minutes of time. Like everybody's pushing to get out.
Yes.
So, I lost a good 20 minutes at the beginning. And then I just really got into my head and I was like, I never want to run again. I never want to run a marathon.
Of course.
Like, all this gear that I had bought at the expo, I got rid of it. I was like, I don't want nothing to do with this. I hate running. And then I got pregnant and I was just like, I'm just done. And I kind of took a couple months. I was still running through my pregnancy, but I wasn't really taking it like, some people take it extreme. And I'm like, not me, not me. Okay.
I am not that person. I am that person.
So I was like, okay, I am just going to get through this pregnancy. I'll try to start running afterward and see how I feel. I started running again. And from like after that DNF, it was really hard to kind of like find my love of running because I think for me, it was like I failed. I didn't look at it as, hey, you attempted and you tried. And I got to mile 20.64. So I had 6 miles left.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I just quit at like mile 10 or something like that. It was like I got pretty far in the race. So I was like, I have to look at it as, hey, I tried and I can do this.
Mhm.
I can do this. And
Mm.
yeah, so I went on, and that's when I did Indianapolis, and I did make it under 6:30 for that one.
So it's totally fine. But I do wanna talk about this, this DNF thing. I just ran, I just mentioned before we started that I went to Moab to run a race. And when I got there, I've never trained at altitude. I live like
Yeah,
where I live is fairly
flat.
flat. Comparatively speaking, we're surrounded by three different, mountain range. And being that it's wintertime, there's not a lot of time. You can't really go out into the mountains at this time
Mhm.
of the year to run
Yeah,
terrain. So I set out to run a 55K. I was able to run 27 miles. This is literally the first time that I set out to run a distance and I did not complete the distance that I had initially started to run.
yeah,
So I want to talk about those, like, number one, when you get to that, you start to get to that point and you start to realize, I don't think that this is going to happen. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. And then making that decision, and then all the stuff that kind of comes afterwards. So
yeah.
when you were in the race, yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I was in the race, so for Nagoya, they had buses on the course,
Mm,
and slowly but slowly they were getting runners off the course.
mm,
And eventually the bus caught up with me, and it was right behind me.
mm,
And I just I was just like, it's not gonna happen. It's not
mm,
gonna happen. This bus is right here. I have to make it to this point before I even get cut off. And I was like a mile out from that cutoff.
mm,
And I think I had approximately 8 minutes to make it.
mm.
And I was like, well, I'm not busting out no 8 minute miles. Like, that's not happening. And so
Indeed.
I was just like, I'm done.
Yes.
And, I just turned around, I got into the bus, and I remember sitting there and I just burst out in
Mm,
tears. And there were other people there. The volunteer was like rubbing me, she spoke
mhm,
Japanese, and, she
mhm,
was trying to
mhm,
console me.
mm,
And
mm,
I
mm,
was just so angry. And I remember calling my best friend because she had also experienced a DNF. And I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody that's completed one. I want to
mm,
talk to somebody that knows how I feel in this moment.
mm,
And she was just like, it's okay. She's like, feel mad, feel the
mm,
anger. She's like, give yourself a week to be upset about it.
mhm.
And then she was like, after that week's done, boss up and figure out what you're going to do.
That's
And
exactly right.
originally I had signed up for a Honolulu marathon, but then I got pregnant and
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of kinked my plans. So, but I think for me, I felt a lot of anger because it was like I knew what I was capable of and I knew I
Mm,
could complete the distance. It's
mm,
just that day, it just didn't happen for me.
mm, mm, mm. It was like the time essentially just caught up with you. And then also knowing, like, "Oh, I've gotta get to this point
Yeah.
before."
It was like I had to get to like the 35K point at like in like 8 minutes or something. It was one of those like
Mm,
35 or 30K or something. I don't know. And I was like, it's not happening.
mhm.
Like, it's not happening.
Understood, understood,
So
understood. It's a tough
I was,
call.
it was really, really tough. And like I said, I cried for about a week about it.
Oh,
And like,
no.
and then like everybody on my Facebook, this is so petty. But when everybody got their race photos back, I was unfriending everybody because I did not want to see that happiness on my Facebook. Okay.
Understood,
Like
understood. You're like, "Bye,
that's how you know how I feel.
goodbye, bye, bye."
I mean, I hurt some feelings over that. I was like, y'all gotta understand, your girl was not in a good place.
Yes, yes, yes. So how do you recover from that? How do you, like,
um,
what did you tell yourself to get through to the other side?
So, after my pregnancy and everything, I decided to sign up for another marathon. I was like, if I can make it to 20.64, I can make it. So, when we were in Chicago, the run club that I was a part of there had certified run coaches.
Mm,
And I my husband was a recruiter, so like his hours were crazy. So a lot of
mhm.
my runs, I was pushing both my kids in this double stroller.
Wow.
And I remember like the coaches just being like, okay, This is what we're going to tell you to do. And they're the ones that introduced like the run walk method. They were like, we want you to run this set amount of time and walk a minute. And they had like weekly group runs, and they broke it up by like pace and stuff like that, which was amazing. They had like group leaders and stuff like that. And I remember when I really realized that I was starting to like pick up the endurance and I was feeling good is I did a half marathon with both the kids in a stroller, and I got it at 3 hours. And that was so fast to me. I was like, oh my gosh. And I went on to PR my half marathon a couple weeks later at a race. So I was like, okay, this is working. So I think for me, it was looking back at the training that I used before. I tried to use a way to advance plan that wasn't good for my body. And this time I went as if I was like brand new beginner. And I treated myself that way. I built up the mileage slowly. I gave myself time to recover. I added in strength training, which was something that I did not do before. And I definitely noticed like a big difference when I started adding in strength, because I was building up those muscles and stuff. And I really started prioritizing eating. That was one thing I didn't do in the first cycle, I think, because I was so nervous about gaining weight. Because like I said, I was trying to run to lose weight. And so with that cycle, I was like, if I'm hungry, your girl's gonna eat. If I want a Big Mac, I'm gonna go get a Big Mac after a run. Like, ain't nobody gonna tell me anything. Who's gonna say something? Like, that's how I felt. Like, who's gonna say something? Nobody. All right.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so, I just started prioritizing eating and just, like really just all the things I didn't do in the first cycle. I look back, and I'm glad like I keep journals for that, because I'm able to see, okay, this is what worked in this cycle. This didn't work in this cycle. And that's kind of how I'm going into Chicago. Like, I know I can't handle gels. I don't like the texture of gels. They make me throw up. So, but I found that applesauce, I love eating applesauce. So I was like, okay, well, we're going to implement that in this cycle. Like, stuff like that. So it's kind of like looking back and being like, okay, this is what my training looked like. Maybe I need to do this more. So
you raise a lot of really important points, especially and I'm hearing these things myself as a coach, and I'm like, oh, she knows what she's doing. Okay. So like, number one, fueling your body for the work that you're going to do. It's okay if you on both sides of the fence. It's okay if you want to run to lose weight. That's perfectly that's a perfectly valid way to do things. But on the flip side, if you want to run and you want to better your performance, eating is important. You must fuel your body to do the work that you're going to do. And so that's very important. And then the second thing that you talk about is keeping track of the work that you have been doing, all like in total, so that you can be able to look back and review what you've done that has worked, and also the things that you've done that have not worked, and where can you tweak things to make it a little bit better.
Because I know with that first cycle, I also wasn't doing any type of speed work either. And then that last cycle, I remember because that previous run club, it gave me an award. It was like a Strides award, and they were like, you would see her out there at the track with this double stroller doing these like 200-meter sprints and just doing it. Like, I'm like, maybe I need to add that back in my cycle this time.
Maybe. I mean, it's really really what you're talking about is that, training for any distance, but particularly for a marathon, encompasses a lot of different moving parts, and that you really need to be able to, I guess, problem solve through the training process about what are the things that are going to really work best for me.
Like for me, I learned that like I can't run 5 times a week, but I can run 4 times a week. And I have to have one day where it's just rest, like nothing. Like, so that's so important to me, is like I tell people, because they're like, what is what should I do? How should I add it in? I'm like, you want to add it in slowly. You don't want to do too much too soon. So
Too
I was like,
fast.
I was like, so focus on your running. And then slowly I was like, so if you're running 4 days a week and you're all running them all at an easy pace, maybe choose one of those days to start adding in speed work. And then I was like, okay, and now you're lifting, maybe adding it in twice a week and kind of going from there.
Exactly. I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So tell me a little bit about, I guess, how you trained for your 50K, like what that you did virtually. I mean, not even like, not even like the training for that, but like what was your thought process in doing that?
So the Marine Corps Marathon had went virtual. That was 2020 when every single race went virtual. And they were like, well, you can do this trifecta thing. I was like, I don't know. We're going to try it though.
Yeah.
And so that training was intense. That was, I mean, you look at marathon training, it's like, okay, but adding in like 50K training, I was like, oh my gosh, those miles it was like back-to-back long runs. You had like 10 miles one day and then it was like 20 miles the next.
Totally get it.
It was crazy.
I know.
So I think for me, because like I said, it was hard because like my husband was working. So it was a lot of like early mornings or running on the treadmill. Since I knew it wasn't going to be a race, like a in-person race, I was like, okay, well, this is just for fun. And so that morning when I actually did the race, I did a lot of it in my neighborhood. So I think I did about 20 miles in my neighborhood until the sun came up. And then I drove over to the trail and I did the last 10 miles there. But by the time I got over to the trail, my body has started to like stiffen up. And so I would say that those last 10 miles were not a run or a walk. They were like a woggle. Like
you were just kind of like, does anybody have any oil?
And it was really cold. Chicago gets really cold in October. Like right after the marathon, it's like cold. And so I was like, oh,
yeah.
And then I had to drive myself back home. And I was sore. I was frozen. My body was stiff. I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But I think for me, my thought process was just like, just get through the miles. Like, this is for fun. You're not racing. You don't have to worry about time cutoffs or anything like that. This is just for you to see what you're capable of doing. And I think that's kind of like the thing for me. That's always been my mindset is I don't want to get caught up in the time limits because I know that I can do it if you allow me to do it.
Yes.
And that's how that 50K was for me. It was, I know I can do this, so let me do this.
Yes, absolutely. I love that mindset. Choose your courses wisely.
Yeah.
And if you need to do something virtually so that you have the time to do it, you can totally do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I still got my medals. So
absolutely. That's exactly right. And you know what you did. So
yeah.
Hello.
Exactly. It was tough, but I did it.
Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about your Instagram. I want to talk about a little bit about your Instagram presence and just all the things that you're doing on Instagram.
Yeah. So when I first made my Instagram, I made it as a way mainly to document my running, but I also wanted to connect with other runners who were like me. I was overweight. I'm still overweight according to whatever, but whatever, I don't care. Back of the packer, I just wanted to share my journey and share my training. And then I also wanted to start sharing reviews on products. Because I've had people in smaller bodies be like, oh, check out this sports bra, and I put it on and it ain't working for your girl, okay? Like I'm getting a black eye or something like that. So, I really wanted to start documenting like, sharing my reviews on things. And that's kind of what happened. I started sharing reviews, people started coming, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like,
Yes.
I like this, really cool. And then, I've gotten to collaborate a lot with like Roadrunner Sports. So now I've kind of gotten into like the shoe review type thing. I'm still very new to it, because people want to know every little thing, and I'm like, I'm trying my best here.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
so still learning how to like really review shoes to where it gets to the point and people can see if they wanted it or not. But I just kind of just started sharing that, and now it's like, whoa, I never expected ever to have over 10K followers. I don't even think I ever expected to have over 1K followers. Like, I was just
right.
whatever. And then like one day it happened. I was like, oh,
you're like, what?
Yeah. I'm still shocked some days. I'm like, is this right? Is this correct? I'm like, y'all sure?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How much time do you put in each week into your Instagram?
So Instagram's pretty much my money maker.
Nice.
So yeah, because I make a lot of I have paid collaborations on it. So I would say it can be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a day. And that's from like recording stuff, editing stuff, seeing what trends are happening, seeing what new shoes are coming out, stuff like that. And then like paid collaborations, I'm getting paid for that. So that takes some more work, because all the emails and talking back and forth and what they want and everything. So I would say like 2 to 3 hours I spend on Instagram just trying to kind of talk to people and stuff like that. Yeah.
But outside of the actual, like being actually on Instagram, outside of that, like when you're making your videos and you're doing all of the stuff that like is kind of like putting it together, that must be additional time on top of that.
So people are like, to be honest, like when I'm out on a run, I just carry my camera and I just record, and I'm like, I'll look at the footage when I get home and see what we got.
Okay, got it.
That's one of the things that I do. I just carry my camera and my little hydration vest, and I just record myself throughout the run. I'll edit something together, call it a day.
and then you're good to go. And you're good to go.
Right. I'm like, I hope for the best. Like, I'm just going to put it out there. Whoever likes it, whatever. Understood.
For folks who might be listening, who might have an interest in developing a page in the way that you have, if you can talk a little bit about how you kind of got to that point.
Yeah. So, at first, like Instagram was really heavy on like photos and hashtags, but now Instagram, and I say this to everybody that's starting one, Instagram is really focusing on the reels. And especially if you're under 10K, they will push out your videos like nothing. So I would really highly suggest, and even like I say this coming from like me, who had like 7K followers at the beginning of the year last year, and now I have 13K. Reels are the way to grow and to get yourself out there and get your message out there. Reels all day. And even with like paid collaborations, I'm seeing more of a push for video content versus photo content.
Interesting.
So I say like, I hate being like find trends and stuff like that and make it your own, but it's kind of like that, sharing your story through whatever trend there might be.
Got it.
And getting it out there.
Got it. What are
even
some
if
of...
it's like,
Go
even
ahead.
like a simple like come run with me type thing, and like showing like the outfit you're wearing, maybe you're eating before, something like that, and calling it a day. Or
and
being like,
literally roll with it.
Yeah, and just roll it in. Or just being like, okay, I'm going for like a 5-mile run, and then like throughout the run be like mile 1, mile 2, mile 3. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And then like stretching at the end. Just something simple. It doesn't have to be like everybody else. Just make it your own.
Make it your own. Got it. What are some trends that you are seeing in the space of, I guess, brand influencing, collaborations within the running space, et cetera, et cetera?
I would say that a lot of trends that I see is like the lip sync stuff, which I don't really like lip sync stuff.
I know.
I mean, it's not that I'm bad at it. It's just I don't like lip sync stuff. And so, like, you see one and you see all of them at the same
Yes.
time. So that's
Yes.
one thing that I really do see. But I will say, from what I see from brands, and kind of what they ask from me personally, is they want to see more of my creative side, what I see. Like, for example, I have a couple of reels going up this week, and it's focused on a shoe. And it's like, okay, hey, how can you show this shoe and incorporate it and talk about it without being like in your face about it?
Sure.
So that's one thing that I'm kind of seeing for brands. I don't think I've had a brand be like, can you do this lip sync video? You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing against lip sync stuff. I do it time to time, but I'm not a lip sync person.
It's not my thing. It's not my jam.
It's not my thing. And I noticed that's the stuff that gets the most views is when I lip sync, and I don't like lip syncing. So that's the trend. I will say that I talk to everybody. They're like, "What's the biggest trend you see?" I think the lip sync stuff, as goofy as it is,
yes,
it gets people the views, and I'm
yes.
like, ugh. I cringe so hard.
No, not another one.
Yeah, I just want to like post my run videos without the lip syncing.
Yeah, understood. Understood.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest trend I see right now. It's just a lot of lip sync. But I will say I also like how I was talking like the vlog type style where people are like taking you through the day. I think that's a big thing. Just taking you through their day. Like, okay, this person got up, they made their breakfast. Oh, they're laying their outfit out. Now they're running. Now they're home and they're eating dinner. Like, I think that's going to be the next bigger trend thing. I see a lot of those videos a lot.
Yes.
So,
did you ever imagine, say, I don't know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that this would be the person that you would be today, and that this would be what you would be doing with your life right now?
Like when people are like, "You're so inspiring," I'm like, "Are you sure about that?" Me? Are you sure?
People say the same thing to me, and I say, "What?" I'm like,
"Yeah,
I'm just like sharing with you, my thing. I'm just sharing my life." And
I posted a reel this morning, and somebody was like, "You're so inspired." Like, they messaged me. They're like, "You just inspire me to do things." And I'm like, I just posted my run. I didn't realize, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I never thought I would be out here inspiring people or I would be this influencer. I don't like calling myself an influencer. I tell everybody this all the time. I am not an influencer.
Understood. Understood.
And so, when people are like, "You're just like one of my favorite influencers," I'm like, "Oh, wait, hold up. I'm not an influencer, but I'm glad I'm your favorite person on here."
My goal is not to influence you. That's not my goal. My goal is just to share what I'm doing.
And then if I get a brand collaboration, I always tell people every time I get one, I'm like, look, like right now, I'm like, this is money towards my trip to Chicago. So I was like, y'all are going to see some of these because your girl trying to pay for all of her flights and hotels since Chicago Marathon wanted to play me and let me in after I moved out.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Absolutely. So like, so lip syncing, not your jam, but what are some of the things that you really love to do and to talk about?
I really love talking about like loving yourself in the body that you're in. That's one thing. I think I always talk about. I've talked about like the run walk method. I talk about things that I use in my training and my reels. So, like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, it's okay to run walk. And I talked about like the run walk method in the caption. I talked about being confident in your skin and your body and loving yourself and stuff like that. But then sometimes I joke around. There was a day where it was like the cheering noise, and I was like, oh, thick thighs, having thick thighs, and I was like, boo, and it was like the shaping, because it's like, I gotta kid around sometimes, that, that's a struggle. Okay, it'd be like, yes, thick thighs, and it'd be like, oh shit, never mind. So I try to bring like a goofy side to it. I think there was a reel I did. I was talking about like what it looks like before I go to run. It was like me sitting on the toilet, like lip syncing. And I was like, and I hate lip syncing. And of course that one did well, right? I was like, it's about drive, it's about power.
I
like,
saw that. I did see that one. That was the best.
That one got so many shares, and I was like, why?
Because, well, runners poop, and we talk about poop. And I mean, everybody loves potty humor. And add in lip syncing, and you've got a winner.
Yeah, right? I was like, the one reel, I'll pull out my butt, and y'all give me views for that. Like, I can sit here and take hours editing something. Oh, no. The one where it took me 2 minutes to just sit on the toilet and lip sync.
That's the best. That is the best.
But, I try to talk about everything, and I don't shy away from like talking about like how gels have hurt my stomach before, and pooping. I talk about chafing. I've did like a whole video before where I talked about like ways I try to prevent chafing. So I try to give tips in there. I see a lot of like repetitive things sometimes too. Like even when I'm scrolling and I'm going through my news feed, I see a lot of like, it doesn't matter what pace you're running.
Yes.
It's a great message, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I've seen this like 5 times. I need to show me your training,
Sure.
And that's what I try to do is like share like behind the scenes of my training. Like, like today I was just like, oh, I'm going to share about my run and call it a day.
Yes.
Because that's kind of what I used Instagram for before, was I would share my runs. And so I was like, that's what I want to do, is with the reels kick now, I'm going to keep sharing my training. So
absolutely. So where or when was the point when it became like a shift for you, right? Where it was, you were doing this thing that was very personal. It was a personal thing and you just wanted to share it. And then somewhere a shift happened where somebody was like, ooh, okay.
I would say when Roadrunner Sports had reached out to me, that was the first time like a big brand had ever reached out to me like that. So they had reached out to me and they were like, we would like to collaborate with you. And I was like, okay. And I thought it was going to be like a 1-month thing, but they've reached out to me, all throughout like the last couple of years.
Wow.
And I would say like the second biggest one was Dick's Sporting Goods. I had a paid partnership with them. And that's when I really realized, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can share my training and I can get paid here and there for that. And so, I try not to focus on trying to gain paid partnerships. I just try to focus on sharing my training. And if a brand likes that and it aligns with them, cool. And if they invest in me, cool. If not, whatever, they're lost, because I know I'm fabulous. So
right. That
so
is, I think that was critical.
I think that was like the biggest shift, is like when a big brand had reached out to me and they were like, we love your stuff. We love what you do. We love what you talk about. And, I always tell people, you never know who's watching.
It's true.
You never know. Because I've had some of the brand's social media people follow me on their personal pages. And I'm like, I try to tell people, I'm like, watch what you're putting out there, because there's people watching at all times. So
which is kind of simultaneously like, oh wow, yay, and then also like, ooh.
yeah
because there's that there's that element of like, something that I personally struggle with is remaining authentic to the person that I am. And that and wanting to talk about the things that are important to me.
Yeah. And like I tell people, I'm like, you can spread your message without coming off without the cussing. because there
Mm.
was somebody that I was watching their story once and they were cussing so much. And I'm like, calm your cussing down. Because I'm like, you don't know who's watching you. You know, I'm like, you can get your point across without being like that.
Well, you know, I don't know if that's part, I guess if that's a part of your brand, that's a part of your brand.
Yeah.
I go either way. You know, sometimes I swear a
Yeah.
lot. I go either way. I try not to do
But
too
I do
much,
notice,
you know.
yeah, I try not to do too much. Like, I really try to, like, you know, and that's hard for me because, you know, I'm veteran, military, all around it all the time.
Sure.
It's really hard sometimes, but I'm like, okay, if this big brand was watching me, what are they gonna say?
Mm,
And you know, that's one thing, like I've always said, like, I'm like, you can share whatever views you have and stuff like that,
mm,
as long as they're not hateful. And that's one thing I
mm,
try to say is don't say hateful things on your page if you're trying to
mm,
work with brands, because they will see it.
mm,
They will
mm,
see it.
mm,
And like I said, you never know who's watching, who's looked at your profile, you know.
mm,
I try to say, like, you know, let's say you have 500 people that watch your story.
mm,
One of those people could be somebody scoping your page because they might be wanting to work with you.
mhm,
So you just never know. You
mhm.
just never know.
Indeed. Indeed. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this. Talk about a little bit about, you know, loving yourself, loving the body that you're in. This is so hugely
Yeah.
important.
So for me, I think in 2020, it was kind of after 2019, after my marathon,
Mm,
after, you know, I really started feeling myself and stuff like that. I really started like being like, okay, I really want to love myself. And I think around that time I was seeing just a lot of like people getting plastic surgery and getting work
mm,
done. And I was like, well, I'm never going to compare to these people. I'm never going to get lip fillers. I'm not going to get BBL. I'm not going to get a tummy tuck. I have a lot of loose skin around my stomach, and I'm not
mhm.
like, that's there to stay because your girl ain't paying for that. I'd rather go on a vacation. Like, excuse me.
So I don't want to, I also don't want to take time off from running for that.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend time
I don't have time
recovering
for
from
that.
all that.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I am going to start complimenting myself daily on things that people have picked apart on me.
Mm,
And so I look at myself in the mirror and I look at myself and I compliment something every single day about myself.
wow.
And from there, I really started finding more self love.
Mm,
I started cutting off and unfollowing people that have had any type of work done, and that we're trying to promote like loving yourself, because you can't tell me to love myself if you've had
mm,
work done. Like, I
mm,
just feel like it
mm,
goes against each other. I also started stop being friends with people that would be like, oh, I'm so fat, and
mm,
they're in, you know, like they have beautiful bodies and stuff. I'm like, I can't be around that negativity
mhm,
because you're going to make me feed into your ego. And then I'm going to feel bad about myself.
mhm,
And, you know, as much as I hate to be that way, but it's just like, I got to think about me.
mm,
Like, I'm sorry, boo, but I got to think about me. And yeah, I just kind of like really started focusing and following people who wouldn't overly pose themselves, who showed their natural selves, who showed, you know, like their cellulite in pictures. I started getting more comfortable sharing like pictures like that, where it's like, oh, my thigh isn't perfectly muscular in this picture. It's just you see the cellulite and it's just like, okay, well, that's me.
mhm,
Or, oh, my gut might be hanging out a little bit. Okay, well, that's me. So,
mhm,
you know, and following pages like that. And eventually, like, my explore page went from like all these like skinny, butt poked out type photos to these women that were just had bodies like mine.
mm.
And it made me start loving myself more.
Love that. Absolutely love
So,
that. Absolutely
yeah.
love it. Love it. So if you had advice, if there's advice that you have personally ever been given, or if there is advice that you would like to give, what would it be?
Um, your journey is important to you.
Mm,
It's your journey alone, and nobody else can take it from you.
mm. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And the final question for you today, Brandy, is there anything that you would like to share that I haven't asked you about?
I don't think there is, I think we pretty much covered everything about me. So, self-love. I had a DNF and came back strong.
Yes.
Got into Chicago Marathon after they played me for 3 years and denying me. So I think we hit all the toes, all right? Chicago Marathon. I'm gonna be salty the whole time I'm up there. All right. I'm gonna hit all my favorite spots and you still be salty, all right?
There will be a reel.
There will be. It's gonna be like, after getting denied the whole time you lived here. It's gonna be like, can we skip to the good part? Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Well, I hope to see you in Chicago. I hope to meet you in person in Chicago. It'll be fantastic. Thank you so much.
I'll be there by myself. So, I'm going to be partying it up. All right.
Definitely. You won't be by yourself. You'll be with the entire city of Chicago and me.
You will see me out there. Okay. Somebody will be by me more than likely.
Awesome. Brandy, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.